Melodea, innovative, fully recyclable packaging for FMCG brands. Make sustainability your advantage.
Imagine a world where, I don't know, every single piece of packaging you touch is perfectly functional. Keeps your food fresh, keeps detergent safe, but also it's perfectly recyclable. Just goes right back into the loop, not a landfill. It sounds almost like science fiction, right? Because the reality now, well, it's a tough balancing act. The stuff that gives us shelf life, often the worst for pollution.
Exactly. And that's really our mission today. We're going deep into how one company, Melodea, is tackling this exact problem. Using their insights, their brochures, we'll unpack how they're pioneering these breakthrough barrier technologies for both paper and plastic packaging, making recyclability real without losing product protection. Actually, they're extending shelf life and, kind of surprisingly, even cutting costs for manufacturers.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then. That little recycling symbol on your coffee cup or your snack wrapper, we all see them. But what actually makes some packaging non-recyclable, even when we try to do the right thing? What's going on behind the scenes that just sends it straight to landfill?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really hits the core of what Melodea calls the industry challenges, the main issue. It's just the huge amount of non-recyclable, multi-layered, really complex structures out there. Think of packaging not as one material, but like a tightly bonded sandwich. You might have different plastic films co-extruded, basically melted and pressed together in layers you just can't separate easily, or paper laminated with plastic. And then you have these super thin, almost invisible barrier layers, things like EVOH, polyamide, ALOX, SIOX. These are great at keeping oxygen or moisture out, like an invisible shield for the product inside.
Right, so it's not just the plastic itself, but how these different things are essentially glued together makes them inseparable for recycling, like trying to unbake a casserole.
Precisely. Those really strong bonded layers make it nearly impossible for standard recycling facilities to, separate and process them properly. And this isn't just a technical headache, right? There's huge mounting pressure from regulations, taxes on unsustainable packaging. Brands everywhere are really struggling to meet their sustainability goals. They've set these ambitious targets. And the inherent problem is finding barrier tech that doesn't hurt shelf life and works together. It's a complex puzzle, especially if you need both oxygen and moisture protection at the same time.
So these aren't just abstract problems for some engineer in a lab. They directly impact, well, everything from the food we eat leading to spoilage, waste if the barrier fails, to the cleaning products we buy, maybe an unnecessarily complex packaging that hikes up the cost. It's a whole system issue touching our daily lives. Okay, let's dive into paper then, because, paper is often seen as the sustainable choice. And for good reason, mostly. But like you said, it has limits for freshness. You can't exactly put soup in a standard paper bag, right? So how is Melodea changing what paper can actually do?
Yeah, that's where their enhanced barrier technology for paper packaging comes in, specifically MelOx Ngen and VB Seal. Those are the key ones. Think of them as transparent, water-based coatings you apply onto paper. What's really cool is how they're precision engineered. Super thin, minimal material, but maximum protection. And importantly, they're FDA and BFR approved for food contact, safe for things you eat. Plus, they're completely free of nasty stuff like PFAS, bisphenol A, and phthalates. It's huge for health and the environment.
That's a really big point. Not just sustainable, but actually safe for direct food contact. So what kind of performance are we talking about here? For paper, how strong are these invisible shields?
We're talking really impressive numbers. They create an ultra-high oxygen barrier, less than 0.5 cubic centimeters of oxygen per square meter per day at 50% relative humidity. To put that in perspective, it's like an invisible force field for your product, crucial for keeping things like coffee or dried foods really fresh. And for water vapor, it's less than 2 cc per square meter per day at 50% RH, less than 15 cc at 90% RH. So good moisture protection too. Plus, you get an ultimate oil and grease barrier, and aroma barrier keeps smells in or out, and even heat sealing capability.
Okay.
The real Melodea's advantage for paper is enabling this paperization idea, meaning you can use paper where you couldn't before without sacrificing shelf life or sustainability. And they're certified for recyclability and repulpability right in the normal paper stream.
Yeah.
The goal is to cut down or even totally get rid of the plastic content in paper packaging.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. How does this actually change the structure of the packaging we see? Because if we're just adding new stuff to the same old multi-layer designs, how much difference does it really make for recycling?
But that's the key. It makes a huge difference because it radically simplifies the structures. Look at the new sorcery structures Melodea enables. They're incredibly clean, like just paper plus VB seal for high water vapor, oil, and grease barrier. Simple. Or paper plus MelOx Ngen for high oxygen barrier. Or combine them. Paper plus MelOx Ngen plus VB seal for an ultra-high barrier. Still pretty simple.
Okay.
Now compare that to the oldie non-recyclable stuff. Plastic film, laminated to paper, maybe high barrier plastic film on paper, or even aluminum foil plus high barrier plastic film plus paper, just layers upon layers.
Right, that complex sandwich again.
Exactly. Melodea basically takes those complex, inseparable sandwiches and turns them into simple, almost mono-material, truly paper-based designs. Designs that are actually recyclable in the paper stream.
So it sounds like they're replacing this like unrecyclable lasagna of materials with a much simpler, eco-friendly, single-dish meal, kind of. And is this easy for manufacturers to actually adopt? Do they need all new machines?
No, and that's another key advantage. Big one. These coatings are designed to be easy to apply using standard, widely available industrial equipment. Think of those big printing and coating machines. Gravure machines, slot dies, curtain coaters, stuff they already have or can easily access.
Right.
Which means manufacturers don't need to invest massively in totally new, expensive machinery. That really simplifies switching to sustainable options.
Makes sense.
And because it's easier to adopt, these solutions are great for a whole range of things. Dry foods, snacks, fast food wraps, detergents, even some fresh foods.
But what about plastic? I mean, plastic packaging is just everywhere. Can this technology help there too? Or is it mainly focused on making paper more useful?
Oh, absolutely. It's critical for plastics, too. And the tech is just as impactful there. Melodea has an enhanced oxygen barrier technology, specifically for the plastic film industry, again, using MelOx Ngen. This hits challenges specific to plastics, things like short shelf life, causing waste, the high capital costs, the capex needed for some existing barrier tech, that same problem of non-recyclable, multi-layered films, and even supply chain issues with getting traditional barrier materials.
So we're not just talking recyclability here. It's also about making the whole plastic packaging production process maybe more efficient, potentially cheaper.
Precisely. MelOx Ngen for plastic films, again, it's water-based, transparent oxygen barrier coating, precision engineered. Also FDA and BFR approved for food contact. The core Melodea's advantages here are, well, transformative. It allows for monomaterial structures. That means true recyclability for plastics. It can significantly cut capital expenditure for manufacturers wanting new barrier solutions. It extends shelf life, reduces food waste, and importantly, it can substantially reduce the amount of plastic needed by enabling thinner, simpler structures.
Less plastic overall, okay.
And it also allows for a much more streamlined supply chain, replacing those complex, often costly traditional barriers like EVOH or metallized films.
And what are the performance numbers for plastic? Are they as good as what we heard for paper?
They're highly effective for plastic too, yeah. Designed for different needs. For a medium barrier, you only need about 0.5 grams of coating per square meter. That gets you an oxygen transmission rate OTR below 10 cc per square meter per day at 50% RH.
Okay.
For a high barrier, it's 2 grams per square meter, bringing that OTR down below 1 cc per square meter per day at 50% RH, which is a really big deal for keeping sensitive products fresh on the shelf for longer.
So let's talk bottom line. What does this really mean for manufacturers and costs? Is it just about being green, or are there real, tangible savings here that would make companies jump at this?
Oh, there are very real, potentially transformative cost savings, yes. If you look at the structures and how it's implemented for plastic, Melodea's tech offers significant cost cuts by replacing older materials. For example, replacing metallized PI ultra-high barrier film, that stuff's usually pretty expensive, you could see cost reductions up to 15%.
15%, okay.
For BOPP medium barrier film, if you're replacing something like EVOH, you could see savings up to 25%.
Wow. 25.
Even for BOPP high barrier film replacing EVOH, savings up to 15%. But here's the really big one, replacing aluminum foil, which is, very high performance, but often costly and energy intensive to make. Replacing foil can lead to an incredible cost reduction of up to 45% per square meter.
35%. That's massive. That's a huge incentive for manufacturers to switch.
It really is. And this saving isn't just about cheaper raw materials. It's about simplifying the manufacturing lines, maybe using less energy in production, streamlining those complex supply chains that used to juggle multiple kind of exotic barrier films. For manufacturers, it's a clear path to both sustainability and a healthier bottom line.
Right. And you mentioned it works with their existing equipment too, which Just removes a massive barrier to entry, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes, that compatibility is absolutely crucial for getting it adopted widely. It works with existing kit like flexographic and graver machines. It's print-ready with standard solvent inks, lamination-ready with standard adhesives, so manufacturers don't face that huge capital investment of totally retooling their factories. It massively simplifies their move to more sustainable packaging. What's really fascinating here is how these solutions, whether for paper or plastic, they just elegantly solve that core conflict, right? Preserving products versus preserving the planet. Melodea's technology offers this clear path for brands, meet sustainability goals, extend shelf life, simplify really complex supply chains by making packaging simpler, and, crucially, cut costs by ditching those multi-material, non-recyclable formats. It's kind of a win-win-win.
Yeah. Which brings up an important question. For you, the listener, what does this actually mean when you're standing in the aisle looking at products on a shelf? It means these invisible innovations, right?
Sure.
These tiny, efficient coatings. They're quietly enabling this huge shift, a shift towards a more circular economy in packaging. They're impacting everything from the snacks you grab to the cleaning supplies under your sink, making them more sustainable, often without you even noticing the change on the outside. And that really wraps up our deep dive into Melodea's, well, truly innovative work, creating these advanced barrier coatings for both paper and plastic packaging, making them genuinely recyclable, extending shelf life, and remarkably cutting costs for manufacturers. That's a powerful combination for a more sustainable future.
Yeah, and maybe just a final thought to leave you with. Consider how these invisible innovations, the ones often hitting deep inside the layers of our everyday packaging, how they're quietly reshaping entire industries, one barrier coating at a time. What other problems that seem really tough, intractable, might be solved by just rethinking the basic properties of materials, combining them in new ways? Think about the ripple effect this kind of material science could have on waste, on resource use, on the whole global supply chain.
Melodea, innovative, fully recyclable packaging for FMCG brands. Make sustainability your advantage.